welcome back to the Career Cafe podcast. I'm your host, Bobby, here with my co-host, Karl, and we have a very special guest today, Nate Marble, the current HR Director of Discovery Ranch South.
Howdy.
Welcome, Nate.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome.
Yes.
Hey,
Nice to have you on.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
So, I ran through your LinkedIn today.
Oh, no.
It was,
I haven't updated that in a while.
Right? No, usually I can just go in and be like, okay, you got this job, and then there's like 2 or 3. You had a lot of experience all the way back to the Tiki Shack.
Yes.
So,
Oh, man, you brought that up. Yeah. Yeah, we started the Tiki Shack back in 2010 when we first came here for school, and then sold it to its current owners in 2014.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
yeah, that was
Okay.
fun.
Well, so today's topic of the podcast that you chose is what employers are actually looking for. And we'll get into that.
Okay.
But first, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your career journey all the way back from the Tiki Shack and where you graduated school, what your degree was, and all of it.
Okay. I'll give you the condensed version, but we'll get there. So it actually started before the Tiki Shack. I was working on our family farm. We had a sod farm in Tremont, Utah. One of the biggest farms in the region, biggest farm in the state at least. And it was my dad's farm, and I looked at him one day and I said, I don't want to work here anymore. And he said, okay, well, what do you want to go into? And I said, well, I actually want to go into theater. And he said, well, what are you going to do with that? Kind of gave me that sideways look.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I want to eventually open a theater program or something, or be a professor and teach. And my brother-in-law and I were both in this kind of the same boat, and we decided to move here to southern Utah. We opened up the Tiki Shack. Went to school here for theater arts, so I got my BFA here in classical acting in 2014. And we did. After that, my wife and I moved to Page, Arizona, opened a theater company down there for a couple years. After a couple years, we had to close that because of a bunch of stuff that happened. And then, but luckily, the same year we closed that down, UNLV down in Las Vegas was opening their 3-year cycle of program, their master's program for theater performance. I got into that, graduated that in 2019. We stayed in Las Vegas for a little while, working down there, and we always knew we wanted to end up back in Cedar City. I never wanted to be the typical actor that traveled, went and auditioned all over the United States and all that kind of stuff. I knew that I have 4 kids and wanted to end up here in Cedar because it was good for us when we were here the first time, first of all, and second, we knew we wanted our kids to grow up here and graduate high school, which 2 of them have done so far. So, so in 2021 is when right after COVID, during COVID, we moved back, and then, I was looking for jobs. I did a couple jobs here and there, and then the performing arts director position actually out at Discovery Ranch South opened up, and I worked and went and did that for a year, and then the HR director was leaving, so I moved into that. And I've had a business background. I've opened up like the Tiki Shack. I've opened a couple businesses up, and I enjoyed business. I really enjoy entrepreneurialism, and seeing like marketing, what makes people tick, you know. But HR was kind of a natural fit too, because there's a lot that is kind of overlaps between the theater performance world and HR.
Are you saying?
Go for it. I'm ready for this.
Well, I got to be careful. We have HR here too. But
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So are you saying that HR is kind of like acting?
Well, okay, you want to go into philosophy? Because we can go down that road.
Shall we? Yeah.
Acting philosophy, because I believe everybody's an actor. I mean,
I agree.
Every little circus ring that we're in every day, I'm a father, I'm HR director, I have different coworkers that I work with, and it depends on what line they're on, the director's line compared to the floor staff line. Even here, I'm putting on a show for you guys, and we're putting on a show for each other, so it's kind of like, when are you yourself? You're acting in all of those different circus rings. So yeah, HR, you have to be able not only to put on that circus ring hat, but also see what other people are giving you and kind of pull that into your experience. I mean, body language, the unspoken language, whatever you want to call it, it's there and you can tell, So yeah, the crossover, it seems natural for me. You have to have empathy when you're looking at taking on a role in an acting situation. It's just body language and sympathy really is what you're looking at. And so HR crossover it's perfect for that. So that's in a nutshell my journey.
Yeah.
You know,
Awesome.
but
So, as HR director, I kind of want to go back first.
Yeah.
You said visual performing or just performing arts director
I was a performing arts director.
at Discovery.
Mhm.
So, what does that look like? What's that
So
job?
there's 3 tiers to that performing arts program. They do music, first of all. So we have a couple different music classes. There's a beginning music class, and then there's what we call jammers, which is technically a cover band.
Okay.
So
Nice.
some of the kids can get into that, and there's like drums and keys and singing and all that kind of stuff. And we do battle of the bands 3 times a year with other programs up north. So that's kind of the advanced, but they just cover contemporary music, 2 or 3 songs every battle of the bands, and we go there. So there's the music side of things, there's the dance side of things. So everybody is involved in one dance class, and then there's an advanced dance class they can go into, and then there's also the performing arts side of things. So they would do everything theater from beginning to end, whether it's writing or producing theater, and all of that leads up to that performing arts stuff. We have parent seminars 3 times a year, and the parents will come on campus, and they do a variety show with everything that they've worked on for the duration in between, and they kind of show off their skills, which for a lot of these kids, they've never been on stage before. So it's fun to watch them get out of their shells, and their parents are just like, I never knew my kid would do something like that, So, and we have to push them sometimes, but once they really dive into it, it's really rewarding to watch.
So do you still have hands-on in that program?
As much as I can.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty dang busy with HR stuff, but if I love recording, I do voiceover work, and if I can get into, we have a recording studio out there. So if I can get in the recording studio with one of the students and have them record one of their own original poems or something, or we put it to a video, I try to do as much as I can there. I haven't been able to much lately, truthfully, but I do love it. I love it out there.
Awesome.
So,
So, for those who don't know, what is Discovery Ranch? What's your guys' mission? What are you trying to do?
Discovery Ranch is a residential treatment center for troubled kids. Technically, we're kind of like a boarding school for kids. We have a accredited school on campus. We're 62 acres out there. And kids, parents from all over the United States or all over the world will send their kids to us for a certain amount of time if they've had troubles, whatever that means. And that's a wide range of things.
Yeah.
They can be with us from anywhere from 8 to 12 months. That's kind of the average stay. Some will be less, some will be more. They range from 13 to 18 years old.
Okay.
And we have not only the school, not only performing arts, but some of the other experiential therapy. We have like equine therapy. So they're working with horses on a regular basis. And then we have rec therapy. So they're like hiking, climbing, all of that kind of stuff. They do backpacking trips. They go to Costa Rica. They've been on a lot of different trips on the rec side of things. And then we do have our clinical side. So we have therapists out there that meet with them on a weekly basis. So there's about 80 employees right now between all of that kind of stuff. And again, when we grow, we'll grow more. We'll get more. But it's a good place. Usually the kids that have been sent to us have been to some kind of treatment before us. So it's not high involvement, I guess you would say. But that's what we do at the ranch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious, going from performing arts director to HR director, it kind of seems like a 180. It's at the same company, but how did that conversation come up? How did you decide that this is what you were going to apply for next or get into?
Well, HR is kind of an interesting place to be, I guess you would say, because some people say that HR directors are there to protect the company, but I look at it that way. But I also have this other side that's like, no, I want to take care of the people who are taking care of the kids on the ranch. And so, like what we were talking about before, acting and theater opens you up for that, because when you have employees come in, you can tell right away. I mean, if you're paying attention to the signs of like a dispute between employees, you can tell if they're open, if they're closed off, what they're thinking, if they're looking at you in the eye, all of that kind of body language stuff. You can tell. Now there's a lot of paperwork on the HR side. You got to fill out papers from all over the place, not just for the ranch, but for everything. And I can do that. That's part of my job, and I do it. I was just filling out paperwork this morning for an employee. But for the most part, it's a human relations thing. You're relating to the humans, not only on the director side, but the people who are doing the dirty work down in the trenches with these kids all the time. So, if anything, acting is relational. You're trying to create a relation with somebody on stage or in front of the camera, and that's really all you're doing in HR too. You're trying to create a relationship somehow between them. So
Awesome. We've had a few HR directors on,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that when we started this season, it was kind of what you had said, that from what you hear about HR, it's like they're there to protect the company.
Mm-hmm.
But every single one that we've had on so far has talked more about that relational side
Mm-hmm.
that I don't think we hear a whole lot about, that it's like you're trying to make sure that your employees are taken care of, and the people that are drawn to it. I mean, I'm trying to think.
Well,
Was there
none of
anybody that went
none
to
of our
school?
HR people, that's why I say,
Yeah.
came through that track.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah, nobody
That's
came out of the
interesting.
business school. It was all either like theater
Theater arts.
or communications was another
Yeah.
one.
Mhm.
Where it's, and
for
he
sure.
talked about the communicating with people and learning how to like share messages and create a relationship
Mhm.
are what's important to him, and that's why it translated well in HR.
Mhm.
So kind of
Well,
interesting.
Yeah, well, and I'm finding like you have your policies and procedures that are there for the company, right? But as long as you are diligent about letting the employees know what those are and upfront, then you don't really have much problems. If they know they've messed up in one of those, there's not much you can do about it, and there's not much they can do about it because they knew that they messed up in one of those. And I've had to hire and fire, people because of that. But most, if not, well, I would say 98% of the people that I've had to let go, they knew that they were getting let go because I was just open and upfront about it. And we had that kind of a relationship where they could be like, yeah, I know I screwed up. I got to go. So,
Well, so okay, getting into the topic of today's episode then.
Yeah.
What employers are really looking for, because you're hiring, firing, but we're going to talk about hiring for this one. Keep it light.
yeah, for sure. Sorry. I went down that hole, didn't I?
No, you're
I was
good.
going to ask you which was more fun.
I know.
Well, it depends on who you're talking to and how they
Right?
look at it. Yeah, for sure.
But from your perspective as an HR director, what are the things that you're looking for? Because I don't think you're typically like we have you at the career fair, and so you're not typically hiring people with degrees for those like entry level positions.
Right.
So what is important when you're trying to hire someone?
Probably the most important thing, going back to what we've already talked about, is that relationship. If you can create a relationship with whoever you're interviewing with within the first little bit, then I'm not going to say you're golden, but you have that much more leg up on anybody else, because it goes back to, and we talked about this a little bit at the job fair, I think, is it goes back to doing your research, finding out if this is, first of all, a company that you want to work for, or if you align with their values. Part of our values are giving these kids a chance to restore choice into their lives. So that's a pretty great value. That's part of our mission statement, and it's what we live by, and so I don't see why you wouldn't want to work there, but it's not for everybody. I have some people that have come in and we've talked to about what we do, and they're like, I can't do that. I don't know that I could work with kids that way on a day-to-day basis. But the ones that stick out in my mind are the ones that come in and say, I noticed on your website that you do this, or I noticed that this position is open too. What about this? Is there opportunity for advancement? And, that know something about what DRS stands for and what we do, and are gung-ho about doing that and being a part of it. Not only that, but looking you in the, it sounds really simple, but looking whoever you're interviewing with in the eye and being able to hold a conversation with them. And
Yeah, I mean, we've talked before, kind of in our introduction to this year. I was recruiting manager for years for a lot of places, and it shocked me when someone would come in for an interview and they didn't even know what company they were interviewing with. Or you'd look at their resume and they'd forgot to change the title from the last one. I even had some applications where they even forgot to erase the person's name that they copied the application from.
Oh my gosh.
And so just that little bit of time from me coming in, I want to show you that I have interest in your company, that it matters enough to me to do a little bit of research to find out what you do, what your mission statement is, a little bit about what your goals are as a company. And I mean, that automatically puts you in like the top 15% of the applicants that come in, because most people don't do it.
Right.
And so just that little key that you mentioned there is just so important when you're coming in to make that initial contact with a person that you want to hire you, is to show that it matters enough to you to do a little bit of research.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And at DRS, we're not your typical college job. We're not your typical, I'm going to go work at, nothing against Jimmy John's, but I'm not going to, I love Jimmy John's. But this is not a Jimmy John's
Not a
job.
sponsor.
Right?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
It's something that requires a little bit more, I would say, passion for what you're doing. And you know, we've gotten to the point, I've been in there about a year and a half, and you can tell the people that come in and are going to be there for a while, and people that come in and are just like, no, I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how quickly, as an HR person, recruiter, interviewer, manager, you see that and can make that determination. The interview can be cut really, really short just based off that first 30 seconds on, are you really interested in this job?
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and going into that, you know, we have a set, because of the difference in what kind of a position this is. We have a set number of questions that we ask, and they're not your typical questions. So this could go back into what we were talking about before, you know, doing the research, but knowing that I'm not going to ask you, you know,
Yeah, right.
how many things can you do in 1 hour? I'm not going to ask you that kind of a thing. I'm going to ask you more things like what are your values? How do you work? What's your parenting style? Even if you're not a parent, you know, stuff like that. To really think about that, because it's not your typical job working with these kids. It's not easy. We always say that. It's not easy, but it is very rewarding.
I guess we kind of touched on this a little bit. Just that you're not hiring people with degrees very often because you're hiring college students.
But you have both.
Yeah, totally. Anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody. We have our floor staff are the people, we call them mentors, because they are mentoring the kids. They're really trying to help them be safe from themselves, but also be to where they need to be every single day.
But not a direct responsibility for actions and outcomes.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
But we do have people with degrees. Like we've got a nursing staff that's on site. We have nurses that have been there for a while, and some that are going through the nursing program here that are trying to get internships as well, or clinical therapists. We have some last year we did. We're still setting that up this year, but we have students that have been working for us that are in the psychology department that are getting their internships right now. So, and then we have HR, of course, and we've got residential director. All our directors line, most of them have degrees. So there is room for advancement. If you want to.
So if someone wants to make a career, say they love mentoring the kids, and maybe they want to get to a position where they're leading the company, or I don't know if it's like a head mentor, things like that. What kind of major can they go into if that's what they're aiming towards?
Like psychology, family, and human development, all of that kind of stuff directly relates to what we do on campus. And we do have, like for our last executive director, she had been with DRS since it started, and she had been with, our umbrella company is the Ascent Company, and she had been with them for 30 years. She started out as that mentor, just started working her way up. You know, you go from mentor to supervisor to coordinator to director to, and you can keep working your way up in the company. Of course, there's the ends up there somewhere. I kind of forgot your original question.
No, I think you answered it.
Okay, did I?
Yeah,
okay,
you
good.
did.
Yeah, there's opportunities.
If not, we'll let it
place.
something really cool in there.
Okay, good. Yeah, put something. I can come back and voice over whatever you want.
Right.
Okay, so skills-based hiring then. When you're looking at a person that comes in to interview, we talked about relationships, but what are the things that you're looking for as far as like their soft skills and maybe even some like hard skills that sets people apart from the rest of those that you're interviewing?
Truthfully, and it goes through cycles, but right now, communication and being able to set strong boundaries is big with us. And that can apply anywhere. But not only with the kids, you have to have boundaries with the kids, or else things could get weird, you know. But also with your fellow employees and how that works out. The communication side, we build teams. We build teams of mentors who are under a supervisor, and those supervisors are under a coordinator. And at any time, you know, those teams have to be able to communicate verbally and non-verbally to get whatever is happening in front of them maybe calmed down at a certain time. Or even just, you know, we're done with lunch. We've got a beautiful lodge with cook staff, and we're done with lunch. We have to get out of here because we have to go to our next thing. And it's almost, you know, it's 5 minutes to get across campus. within a look, you can, the good staff, the good teams that we find within a look, and you can say, okay, we got to get outside. Let's start getting the kids rounded up, stuff like that. So, and that's nonverbal and verbal communication. Being able to deal with the situation with another coworker, that's another skill that isn't taught. I mean, it's changed. I think people are scared a little bit to confront somebody about something that's not going right, or they want to see change or could change within that relationship. What we really try to push them to go straight to that person and be like, yeah, before you come to me, I want you to talk to them first. Not being afraid of confrontation, I guess is what it is, and being able to communicate through it.
So translate that now into the resume application and interview process. How do you see that? How do you know that? What do you look for to cue you in on that kind of stuff?
Well, because of the questions, that's one of the questions we ask is like, what is your communication style? How do you deal with conflict, kind of a thing? We do ask that question. What are 3 of your values? What is it? What does the word integrity mean to you? Stuff like that. We really tried to form these questions to find out how they are going to react in any given situation when they're on the floor, or how they're going to relate to the kids. That's our whole purpose, because a lot of times we are the parents. We say this in orientation: we're not your friends, we're not their friends. We're really here to help them, just guide them along the path to where they can be independent of this place, the ranch. I think I keep cutting out.
So
maybe
There we go.
So
Maybe.
if you were to come on campus and you could teach students for one night, and you will come on campus.
Okay.
What's that deliverable that you would give them? 2 areas. First of all, their general life right now as a student and preparing for a future. And also, what would you tell them to prepare for a career to come and interview with you? What are the 2 things?
Well, so if I were to come on campus and do like a workshop,
when you do come
or
on
something,
campus.
when I do come, I would immediately go into, I would do some acting stuff because I'm an actor.
There you go.
Right. But I would want to teach something or get a group together and talk about body language and communication. That's really what it is. And being open to change. The body language and communication is so important because if you're not communicating and effectively, I don't know what you need and you don't know what I need. And then the communication side is open to feedback and change. That would really be the second thing. Because if you're coming in already knowing everything about my program, that's something that's hard to work with as an employer. We want to, and I'm the same way. I'm going to go into my executive director's office completely different because I need to know her feedback for me. If you come into my office and you're not open to that feedback, first of all, I can tell right away you're not open just by how you come in. And second, I know that if something does need to change within the company, I might get a lot of pushback from you, and I don't know if it's best for the company. There's some things that I can't control, and I need to just push forward. There are times where we have discussion. We've had discussions with our employee base about certain things that we've needed to change and get their feedback from it. But other things, I need to know that I can say, we need to do this now. And you're going to be like, okay, how are we going to get this done? Instead of, well, I don't want to do that, which I have had people say to me in my office. So, yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah, good.
Could you give us a snippet? I'm curious about, the body language and communication. What should students be doing that they aren't doing? I think everybody thinks, I'm a great communicator, but we've all got stuff to work on.
And cover it from they're approaching you at a career fair versus they're coming into an interview.
Sure. So at a career fair, I would say the people that come up to me, and we just don't think about this stuff. So this is all subconscious stuff that we don't know we're doing unless we're absolutely doing it. I didn't realize I was on stage. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2", and I'm pushing 250 almost, right? On stage, I would try to diminish myself as much as I could. I'd put my hands in my pockets or I'd fold my arms because I didn't want my counterpart to feel intimidated by me because I am such a big guy. And I had a director at UNLV that finally just said, "Why do you do that?" And I'm like, what am I doing? I didn't even realize it. It was subconscious for me, something that I learned since I was a kid. Every time I did that from then on out, I would recognize it. First of all, if my hands were in my pocket, I'd be like, is this serving me in this instance? If it's not, I've got to change. And like my director, he was like, "You're playing a king in we're not in a theater. You're playing a king in Macbeth. You are not supposed to diminish yourself. You're supposed to have a commanding presence, right? So when you walk into that interview, are your hands in your pocket, first of all? If you walk into that job fair, are you folding your arms and shrugging your shoulders because you're nervous to talk to me? If you are, try to open that up. See if you can just stop there. The people that I remember the most and that we put stars by on our little notebooks are the ones that are actually, face forward, arms down, looking at me. Really, I can tell they're taking in what I'm trying to give to them. And then they can be completely honest with me. There's some people that come up and they're like, "Yeah, I think I could do that." And other people are like, "No, that's not my thing. I'm out of here." Right. Translating it into the office itself, a good handshake is always, it's not important, but it's always a good thing. A handshake, walking into the office. If you're sitting in my chair and your knees, or you've got your legs crossed and you're sitting back a little bit, that kind of gives me a standoffish approach. And that it kind of puts off the feeling of like, I'm not that interested in what you're saying. Right. Even though that might not be what they're thinking on the inside. Again, that's a subconscious thing that they've already done. So if you can pull that out, sit forward just a little bit. You don't even have to sit forward all the way. Just show somehow in your body language that you're interested in what's going on in that interview. That puts you leaps and bounds ahead of others.
Yeah. That's when I taught interviewing a lot. We would call it the 3/4 rule. Only sit on the front 3/4 of the chair. Never touch the back 1/4 of your chair. Sure. Because it forces you to sit up. It forces you to lean forward a little bit. And it gives you that interested appearance. Plus, just physiologically, it does alter. You breathe better. There's more oxygen to your brain. Everything, you perform better because you are sitting up and leaning forward. And so there's science behind it both ways.
And I think subconsciously it's making you more powerful in your own mind, Yeah. If you put yourself in a position where you are closed off.
The meager inferior.
Yeah. It's like, if I sat here the whole time with my arms crossed, I think in my mind, without even thinking about it, I'm like, I'm really nervous about this. Just doing this, I guess they can see us, right? They're just doing this on my own. Yeah. I'm kind of feeling like, oh man, that just made me a little nervous. But just putting my hands forward a little bit, I can cross them because I know I can use them in conversation. But it just opens me up and makes me feel a little bit more engaged in what's happening right in front of me. So.
Good. So I do photography kind of on the side. One thing that I always tell the people that I'm taking pictures of, because it's the same thing of like they feel more comfortable with their hands in their pocket or kind of closed off. And so it's going to feel weird the first time that you like open up and stand up straight. It's like I've never stood with such straight posture. And it's like it looks better than it feels. Yeah. And so students, it's going to feel weird for the first few times. And then you'll get more used to it, and you'll get used to opening up, and then you'll start to recognize, when you're closing off, like, oh, I feel weird. I feel less confident, but it's going to feel awkward.
Yeah, and a little trick for that, watch yourself in a group. A lot of times you watch these groups on campus and watch the mirroring effect that has. One person's, and I do this just to play with people, but like if we're standing in a circle with my kids, I'll just all of a sudden close my arms, and then all of a sudden 2 or 3 other people will start closing their arms, and then you just put your foot backwards a little bit, and the other person start doing that. They'll mirror you. And the whole point of that is to be able to have control of what you're doing in the moment. And if it is something, like I said before, if it is something that serves you, go ahead and keep doing it. But if it's not serving you in that moment, change it. It sounds simple, and I know it's hard. And it does feel weird when you start doing it.
Well, I learned that when I got in interviews, if I was nervous, I think my hands were just uncontrollable. They were just flying all over the place, and it was annoying me even at times. But that or else I would just sit and tap. And I never knew I was doing it until I started watching videos, of me teaching people how to interview, and I'm doing stuff wrong. so I got to the point where I knew the minute I walked in and sat down, I locked my thumb.
Oh,
And that way I always had conscious
it's like an
control.
anchoring. Yeah.
Right. And I can always break and use it, but I knew if I went back to it that my arms weren't flailing
Right.
around uncontrollably and I didn't know what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we have the program now that students can use called Big Interview.
Yep.
And it records them doing interviews.
Cool.
And it tracks eye movement and it tracks how many times they say and
Mm-hmm.
and so, practice in anything makes you better
Mm-hmm.
and more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard to correct something you don't know you're doing.
Right.
And so by
Right.
watching yourself or having a friend, somebody you're comfortable with, coming to the career center, a mentor, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
watch you and work with you, that's how you get better because there's not a class, there's not a semester where you're going to go and sign up for body language in an interview.
Hey, maybe we should.
So we probably
We
should.
could set that up.
Yeah,
That'd be
we'll
great.
do it. All right. but it's identifying and then correcting.
Yeah.
And then you become comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's the key to everything. You want to know about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know if I'm going to be a good fit. And if neither one of us are comfortable, boy, it's hard to get to that point.
Right.
You leave and I'm not sure how you felt about me. You're not sure how I felt even about the job. And so there's any little bit of that ambiguity left creates problems on both sides.
Yep.
And so anything I can do to take control of my portion of the interview to feel better, to feel more comfortable, I'm better off. And I'm helping you because now you can assess me better as a person feeling comfortable than this shell of myself or personification of something that isn't really me. And you can,
Right.
and you can tell.
Yes.
And so, that body language, that feeling comfortable in an interview is something that really is important. And when you come on campus, we'll work on that.
Okay.
We'll do
That
some
sounds
classes. All right.
But that brings me back to,
Yeah.
I mean, you're coming to an interview, but you need to know if you want to work there as
Exactly.
well. So one other tip, just thinking about the interview process itself, is while you are listening to that person who's interviewing you, come up with some intriguing, something that has intrigued you about what they said, and ask the question at the end. I always ask, is there anything you want to know about us or at this company? And the people that are like, you said this, what happens when this happens? Or where did they go at this time? Or what happens afterwards? All of that kind of stuff. The people that ask those questions are the ones I'm like, these guys are actually intrigued in this. They're actually thinking about this as.
How does that work?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So say someone comes in for an interview, talked about relationships, and that it's important to demonstrate that you can build one. Do you have any tips for what is a quick way that I can build rapport with you in an interview in a way that feels natural?
One of the first things that you can do is just show appreciation for the interview. And even just by saying it, I really appreciate you taking the time to have me in here. I've learned a little bit about your business and I want to know more. So that's one of the things.
The reason I ask is because, it's one thing that we kind of threw out of you got to build a relationship. But it's I don't know how to do that. I know when I've done it. but-
Especially, I've got 30 seconds to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this kind of goes back to what we talked about kind of close to the beginning is showing that appreciation, but also like we talked about, showing interest in the company. If you only have 30 seconds, thank you for letting me come. I know you guys are you're a residential treatment center for troubled kids. So what does all that involve? Showing interest, genuine interest in the company always goes a long way with me. If you shake my hand and just sit down and I'm like, hi, how you doing?
Tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
I'm Bob.
And I can't, and there's certain questions that I cannot ask. But
Right.
if you're,
Right.
And this goes back to acting. If you're in an audition and they ask you a question, they want to see you acting. They want to see your life.
The performance.
So if they ask me about my family, I'm not just going to say, I have 4 kids. I'm going to be like, I have 4 kids, and my oldest, she's just going to college, and I'm offering up a lot more information than you even asked me in the first place, because I just want to go into this, and I want you to see that I'm a real person, because ultimately, I'm going to work with who I like to work with, and you're going to work with who you like to work with. So I just want to make sure that we're a good fit for each other. So you're interviewing me as much as I'm interviewing you, but I just keep talking about it, and don't, you don't have to go on for 10 minutes about your life, but
And not super personal.
No.
But enough to establish a human relationship.
Right, exactly. Yeah, go into it. That interest is all is all important. Come down and show real interest in what is going on wherever you're going.
One thing I always look for is I wanted them to come in and leave me with 3 things about themselves that they thought made them better than anybody else I was going to interview that day. What are your 3 go-tos, your 3 strengths that you really want me to know about you? And are you telling me, or am I trying to drag them out of you?
Yeah.
So I always tell people, come in prepared to share 3 things, and no matter what, you're going to get those 3 things out. And if a hard question comes up and you're unsure, tie back to one of those 3 things, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, and I'm totally okay if a hard question does come up, like that integrity question. What is integrity? A lot of people can't answer it. They're like, well, I've never thought about this before. Then I'm okay with them saying that. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about that. That's a really good question. Little terms. We talked about filler terms.
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
Right.
And I know that's a good question because I put it together. So you don't have to tell me that.
But it gives me now another 10 seconds to formulate something in my head to come up with a better answer.
That is true. That is true. But I'm okay with you saying, I don't really know. I haven't thought about that, but that's something I'll definitely think about over the next little while and come back to you.
You can't say that for every question.
Not for every question, no. I got to have something from you.
Never thought about that.
Yeah.
What's work? I've avoided it long enough. I really don't know.
Right.
Yeah, kind of our final segment, talking about hiring, is where do you see hiring practices going over maybe the next decade? Because we've gone from very, a traditional, you need to have some sort of like application skill that's related to the job. We're moving, I think, more relationally in most fields. Obviously, if you're applying at an accounting firm, you should know how to do accounting. But for a lot of jobs, and especially student jobs that they're going to hit, what kind of things should they be preparing for?
I think we're having a theme here because everything is moving digital. We have a website that we use called Workable that I can just send one job post out and it goes to all these different jobs and they come right back to me. So you don't necessarily have to have those hard copies of your application anymore. But if you don't have the relationship side of things, that just makes it really hard. And I'd say that because coming out of college the first time, so I went for a year clear back in, I don't remember when. God, that was a long time ago. But coming out of that, I didn't have the relational skills, and I would just come and sit with somebody and expect them to get everything out of me. But if you can build a relationship with somebody, then I think any employer will look at you as a leg up. And I say that also because we are in a digital age, and I see it with my kids as well. Anytime I have a question or just a wonderment out there in the world, my daughter will pull up YouTube or Google and be like, "Oh yeah, here it is, Dad," and I'm like,
"Yeah."
Or there's a lot of people just that do sit at home and don't go out. So if you can find a way to go out and push yourself to get relational with people in whatever way that is, if it's a club, if it's whatever, and then transfer that into the business, I think that's where things are going to go. Even with AI right now, I know there's a lot of jobs out there where you can kind of sit back and work on your computer. But eventually I think everything you've got to have that skill.
Well, and at some point, a human's going to talk to you to hire you.
Right.
Even if the job may be online, the AI may have talked to their AI to get you to the interview. At some point, there's that transactional human interaction. And so you have to be able to navigate through that.
Yeah. Which I love ChatGPT.
Right.
I use it all the time. But I still have to talk to people
right
all the time too. So
I think thinking about that, a lot of our students, they'll go to career fairs when they need a job.
Yeah.
And first of all, that kind of puts a lot of pressure on you if you're only there because you need
both sides.
income.
Yeah, that's true.
But also, if you're trying to actively learn how to build relationships, you have to go out and actually build relationships. You can only talk to ChatGPT so much before you're like, I need to go talk to a person that I literally don't need anything from and just learn to communicate for a minute.
Yep.
And so, like, our students, when they say, oh, I'm really not looking for a job, or I'm not looking for a career yet because I'm still a freshman, it's like, just come and just talk to people.
Yeah.
Like, I think that our employers appreciate that too. When it's like, I know they're obviously there to hire people, but they don't want to just sit there all day and answer questions about pay and flexibility. It's like,
right.
Just, communicate with them.
When we bring employers on campus for whatever reason, we'll have networking nights. We have nights when employers will come in and talk about resumes and applications, and even the career fairs that we have. As an underclassman, you're thinking, I'm not getting a job yet. That'll come in 3 years. But if I come in and spend time with you and get to know you and I get to know about your company, well, now I've got more reason to focus in class because I know a little bit more about what a company wants and expects, and I'm on your radar. I developed that relationship. I don't have to wait until that first 30 seconds when hopefully I get an interview with you somewhere down the road. We already have a relationship, and that network is building. You may never have a job for me, but you know me,
right?
And I may be talking over here to somebody, but you know them too. And so you're building this network. We all know that most jobs are filled by people that the employer either knows and trusts or someone that they know and trust knows and trusts. And so networking is putting yourself into those circles to where you're in that realm of knowing and trusting too. And so you're building a brand through this whole process. You're building this personal brand.
Yes.
And so that's a vital part that underclassmen may not understand or recognize. Come to everything and learn that skill of talking to people and build a network. You know, be kind and courteous and learn about people. You may have zero interest after you find out about their job, but leave that on a note to, man, I was interested and thank you for your time. And knowing what I don't want to do is just as valuable to me as knowing what I do.
Exactly.
And you don't learn that part either if you're not putting yourself out there a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. This is mainly because of my education, but I never knew the RTC world existed, like the residential treatment world, until I got this performing arts job.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't leave it. Now I love working in this industry, but I never would have known that unless I would have taken a step to go towards it, and I wouldn't have known it if I didn't have the network to say, yes, I might apply for that job out there because somebody knew somebody that was out there, and it was a good deal. The network is so important. So even if you don't think you're building a network, you are building a network.
Right.
I had I got laid off, I don't know, just because the company was going under a long time ago, and I had a friend that I would get on a call with once a month. We had a guys group that we would get on a call with once a month, and he was up in Oregon, and he's like, yeah, I'd hire you in a minute if you were up here. I'm like, well, do I want to move to Oregon? I didn't really want to, but that's the kind of network, if you have friends, you have people that it's worth it. It's worth it to go to these things even if you don't want to.
Right. Well, you and I both spent time in Vegas, and networking, knowing people in Vegas is kind of on steroids compared to knowing and networking people down here.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, going through that kind of a system down there, you really learn the skill of being able to talk to people, articulate yourself to people really quickly, and learn how to read people, like you've been mentioning all along, because that is just how business is done. And not just in Vegas, but a lot of parts of the world, and depending upon what industry you're in, that's the key component. And so, we were talking a little bit earlier about how COVID kind of changed the dynamic of people and their interpersonal skills. And the group of individuals coming into the workforce now lack some of those skills because they were pulled out of it, and we learned to deal with things electronically instead of interpersonally. And yet the essence of business, no matter really what you get into, is that interpersonal communication, that ability to deliver, whether it's sales, whether it is customer service. Even in accounting, you have to be able to deal with a customer to find needs and wants and outcomes. And so taking advantage now as a student of these interactional opportunities that are presented to you, take advantage of whatever there is. And like you said earlier, learn to be uncomfortable a little bit, because that's what makes you grow and that's what makes you stronger, and it will become more comfortable. But if you reverse the situation and you come into an interview and thinking, I'm the employer, what would I want to see from somebody in this interview? I've leveraged I've got a second mortgage on the house. I'm working 90 hours a week. I've leveraged my future, my wife and kids' futures to make a business successful. What do I want to see out of somebody to come and work for me?
Right.
I want to see a little interest. I want to see a little passion. I want to see a little bit of, I'm willing to do the hard work to make you better, and just by changing the framework of your perception going into an interview and preparing for that interview, and even the resume part, putting yourself on paper, what would you want to see from somebody coming in, to make you pull the trigger and say, yeah, man, I'm willing to risk on this person, because it is, hiring, training, interviewing, huge financial drain on a company. And so you don't want to mess that up. And so by you coming prepared to an interview to demonstrate those things, you mentioned the word golden earlier. That's really, you're in the top 10 to 15% of any candidate that comes in if you can demonstrate you've just put that little bit of time into doing that.
That kind of brought up another thought too, is being, having the, I know it's not easy, but having an owner mindset, even though you're not the owner, if you're just an employee, having the owner mindset to be like, no, I have an idea. I see what you're doing. Maybe this could make it a little better or help, and then bringing that to the director's line and saying, this is this idea that I think would make this even better than what we're doing, instead of just showing you have that mindset instead of coming in and saying, no, I'm just an employee, because you're not. You're valued. You are valued, and your opinions are valued, and it might not be something that we could implement, but having that mindset, I want to make this place better while I'm here, that's what's really going to take you to the next step. That's going to take you from the mentor to the supervisor to the coordinator.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
Well, and you'll find out really quickly if you want to stay working at a company based on those interactions. Because if you go to somebody and they just shut you down every single time, I don't think an employee stays there long.
No.
Even if they can't implement it, if it's like, hey, I appreciate you coming and talking to me, we're going to discuss this and see what we can do. That shows that you care about an employee.
Yeah. And, it's like that saying, people don't quit because of the money, quit because of people. They quit because of the people you're working with. And that's kind of the atmosphere we're trying to create out there, is we want you to be a part of this. We want you to have ownership in it.
Okay. We beat the relationship dead horse over and over again.
That's good.
If you had one final word of advice for our students that are either looking for a job or just starting out their careers, what would you tell them what would you wish that you had heard when you started yours?
Probably, it sounds cliche, but really fake it till you make it. And that encompasses everything that we've done here. Even your body language, if you're not used to being that open and that grounded, fake it for a while, and then you'll start getting used to it. If you're not used to sitting on that front of that chair, just do it. Try it. It may be uncomfortable for a while, but eventually it'll be like, okay, this is second nature to me. So all of this stuff, if you can put it into practice and just fake it until it's there, that's what I would give you. Yeah.
Perfect.
Is that cool?
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself.
Good. So final question.
Yeah.
Bigfoot, real or not?
I am going to be honest, I am skeptical.
Okay.
Because I'm just skeptical. You got all the videos and everything, but I'm like, yeah, but nobody's ever actually come in contact with one, or we haven't seen a dead one in nature.
I hate that I've been to the Bigfoot Museum now because I can answer these.
Real?
I went on a road trip with the Bigfoot Museum.
Yeah.
And there's a whole section in that museum of just that.
Of actual...
Of explanations as to why. Pretty much just trying to prove that your skepticism's wrong.
Well, did they explain it? Have they found...
So the whole thing that they say is, okay, oh gosh, I can't believe we're getting into this.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready.
All right.
So when an apex predator dies in the wild, it's not because something's killed it. It's because it starts to feel sick and it goes and hides in a cave and dies. And then slowly the bones will deteriorate. So they say that we don't often find bear bones, bones of bears in the wild.
Okay.
And it's estimated that there's 100 times more bears in the wild than Bigfoot. And so Right? So it's like I hate that I know that now.
Or if they are intelligent beings, do they bury each other? Do they take care of
Okay,
them?
see, that's where I get
But
skeptical.
then would you find a grave somewhere? Like, would you find a
Well, I don't know. Do
mound
they
or-
mark it?
Oh, they wouldn't mark it, I guess. I don't know. Still skeptical, but
All right. We won't go into interdimensional beings.
Oh, gall,
Yeah, that was the
like
last one.
astral projecting. and all
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
We've been there.
Have you? Yeah, those are good ones. Good. We can do that another day.
All right, we'll
If you
do
want.
that. Podcast part 2.
Okay. So, relationship's good. Bigfoot, maybe.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. Tune in again for another great guest. Thank you so much for coming
Thanks,
on,
Nate.
Nate.
Thanks
It's
for
been
having
great.
me. Appreciate it.